Most people are losing a war they don't even know they are fighting. They wake up, grab their device, and immediately hand over their emotional keys to a stranger. They think the battlefield is outside of them, in their bank account, in their office, or on their digital feeds. They are wrong. The only arena that matters is the 9 inches of space between your ears. Look around you. The average man is a slave to his environment. A driver cuts him off, and his blood boils. A coworker drops a backhanded comment, and his entire day is ruined. A minor inconvenience occurs, and his mind descends into immediate panic. He believes he is a free agent, but in reality, he is a puppet. Anyone with a keyboard, an attitude, or a bad mood can pull his strings and watch him dance. In the social arena, if you cannot control your internal state, you aren't a player. You are a casualty. Every single day, the world launches a systematic siege against your focus. The algorithm wants your attention. Your critics want your anger. Your peers want your validation. They are all mining for your data, hunting for your triggers, and testing your defenses. And the moment you react, the moment you defend, explain, or explode, you have lost. You have given them the exact blueprint they need to neutralize you. The ancient world understood this dynamic perfectly. Marcus Aurelius sat at the absolute peak of global power, commanding the Roman Empire while fighting brutal campaigns on the frozen borders of Germania. Yet, his greatest victories didn't happen on the open field. They happened in the silence of his tent, where he ruthlessly audited his own thoughts. He realized that an emperor who cannot master his own mind is just a beggar wearing a crown. He chose to become an immovable object. Today, we initiate Protocol 004, the sovereign mind. We are stripping away the modern, diluted version of self-help and diving directly into the cold calculation of the Roman citadel. I am going to show you how to build a psychological barrier so dense, so detached, and so impenetrable that the entire world could descend into absolute madness around you, and your heart rate wouldn't even register a spike. We are going to dismantle the emotional leashes they use to manipulate you. We are going to replace your reaction with a vacuum, and your anger with an unreadable, unmovable presence. If you are tired of letting average people dictate how you feel, your training begins right now. The gates are shutting. The walls are going up. Let's begin. Marcus Aurelius did not write his journals for an audience. He wrote them as a survival manual while fighting brutal wars on the freezing borders of Germania. He realized a cold truth. An emperor who cannot master his own thoughts is nothing more than a slave wearing a crown. He called his defense system the inner citadel. A citadel is not an offensive weapon. It is a fortress of absolute, internal isolation. It is a secure space within your mind where external noise cannot enter without your explicit, conscious permission. When an insult, a crisis, or a betrayal appears on the horizon, the untrained mind panics and runs out to meet it, bleeding energy and exposing its weaknesses. The sovereign mind does the opposite. You step back. You close the iron gates. You audit the threat from a position of absolute psychological safety. To construct your citadel, you must master the law of objective perception. The world will constantly try to tell you that an event is a tragedy, a slight, or a personal insult. It wants you to attach an emotional narrative to everything. The Archon rejects the narrative and looks only at the raw data. An insult is nothing more than a combination of vibrating sound waves. A setback is merely a change in external conditions. A betrayal is simply a realistic revelation of someone else's flawed nature. Strip away the dramatic story your ego desperately wants to paint. When you remove your opinion about an event, you completely remove the injury. And when the injury is gone, the fortress stands entirely unmoved. They cannot breach a wall that offers them no grip. Most people break because their boundaries are made of glass. They look solid until they are struck. Your citadel must be built of stone. This means your emotional stability cannot be contingent on how people treat you, how the economy moves, or whether the algorithm validates your existence. You must become an immovable object. When someone attempts to provoke you, they should encounter a silent, unyielding void. Let them exhaust their energy against your silence. Let them throw their tantrums while you remain perfectly still, analyzing their moves like a grandmaster observing a chessboard. You do not explain your fortress, you simply inhabit it. If they cannot find a backdoor into your mind, they can never control your life. Stay solid. Stay sovereign. The human mind is an elite processing engine, but most people treat it like a trash can. They let every passing impression, every social media notification, and every backhanded compliment trigger an immediate chemical reaction in their blood. This is what the Stoics called the tyranny of impression. An impression is simply an external stimulus knocking at the door of your consciousness. The average person flings the door wide open, invites the chaos inside, and lets it wreck the house. They receive a toxic text, and their heart rate spikes. They get ignored, and their anxiety flares. They are constantly reacting, constantly leaking energy, and constantly giving the world free data on how to break them. The sovereign mind does not open the door. The sovereign mind installs an interrogator at the gate. When an impression arrives, whether it is an insult, an emergency, or empty praise, you do not accept it as truth. You hold it at arm's length. You look it in the eye and say, "You are just an impression, you are not the reality." This creates the psychological gap. In that gap lies your ultimate sovereignty. Between the external stimulus and your internal response, there is a vacuum of time. In that vacuum, you are completely untouchable. If someone tries to bait you into an argument to feed their own ego, the average man barks back out of pride. The Archons step back into the vacuum. You do not absorb the blow. You simply let the strike pass through empty air. You choose zero response, denying them the feedback loop they desperately need to calculate your position. When you refuse to react, you become a ghost in their simulation. Humans are hardwired to read reactions. They interpret your anger as a vulnerability and your defense as fear. But when they meet a blank slate, they panic. They don't know if you are plotting their demise or if you simply find them completely irrelevant. This is the ultimate defensive strategy. By remaining entirely non-reactive, you force the opponent to exhaust their own psychological ammo into an empty void. You remain formless, and what has no shape cannot be broken. Stop letting average people rent space in your head for free. Install the gatekeeper. Protect the vacuum. Stay cold. When you are trapped on the ground floor of a conflict, everything looks massive. A toxic coworker, a financial setback, or a public insult fills your entire field of vision. It feels like a catastrophe because you are standing too close to it. Your ego blows it out of proportion, making you panic, react, and leak energy. The Stoics broke this cognitive illusion with a powerful mental exercise known as the view from above. They did not look at their problems through a magnifying glass. They looked at them through a telescope. To master your mind, you must learn to detach your consciousness from your immediate physical coordinates. You must pull your focus backward, rising out of the room, above the streets, and high above the chaos of your city. Imagine climbing so high that your entire country becomes a quiet grid, and the earth itself shrinks into a silent, blue sphere turning in a vast, indifferent void. Now, look for your problems. Look for the person who disrespected you. Look for the crisis that kept you awake last night. They have completely vanished into insignificance. This is not a trick to escape reality. It is a mechanism to restore symmetrical proportion. Most of the social skirmishes you treat as matters of life and death do not matter in the grand architecture of time. The crowd shouting for attention today will be dust tomorrow. The empires that seem all-powerful right now will eventually become silent ruins studied by future historians. When you anchor your perspective in this truth, your anxiety transforms into a cold, unshakable clarity. From this altitude, you develop a terrifying level of psychological immunity. You stop letting small people evoke large reactions from you. You look down at the drama of the social arena, and you see it for what it truly is: children throwing tantrums in a sandbox. You do not abandon the game. You simply play it with the frozen detachment of a grandmaster moving wooden pieces across a board. They are playing for their fragile egos, throwing tantrums with every move. You are playing for permanence. You remain calm, you remain cold, and you let the clock run out on their noise. They are fighting the wind. You are navigating the simulation. Stay detached. The training is complete. The inner citadel is locked. You have moved past the primitive need for external validation, and you have entirely neutralized the tyranny of passing impressions. You are no longer a passenger inside your own skull. You are the absolute sovereign. As you step back into the chaotic noise of the world, you must maintain this strategic alignment. The masses will continue to live on the ground floor. They will continue to scream for attention, leak their data, and react to every minor gust of wind. Do not join them. Your mind is no longer public property. It is a private sanctuary, a fortress where only calculated logic and cold intent are permitted to exist. Remember the fundamental law of the arena. The crowd desperately wants a show. They want to see you bleed. They want to see you panic. And they want to see you lower yourself to explain your position. Do not give them the satisfaction. When they offer you disrespect, meet it with a vacuum. When they present you with chaos, meet it with absolute stillness. Your silence is not a sign of weakness. It is the ultimate expression of dominance. It signals to your opponents that their entire existence is not heavy enough to tilt your axis. You are navigating the simulation from a position of frozen detachment. They are playing for the moment. You are playing for permanence. Protocol 004 is now fully active within your subconscious. The gates are shut. The walls are solid. From this moment on, you walk through the social arena as an unmoved force. If you are ready to reclaim your sovereignty and master the void, comment Citadel below. This is your digital signature, your proof to the archive that you possess the discipline to outlast the masses. Subscribe to the Archons protocol to secure your access to the next declassified file. Our strategic work has only just begun. Stay unreadable. Stay Archon.